India and China, the two most populous nations, blundered with their birth control policies in the 1970s. In a rare misjudgment, Deng Xiaoping mistakenly believed that China's population explosion could be remedied by a ruthless implementation of the one-child family rule. What followed was state retribution on any family that dared to break the one-child law. But an elementary bit of demographic arithmetic got missed by Deng and his communist cohort. If only they had drawn the family chart for 3 generations, they would have realized their folly. Because a dreadful inverted pyramid gets formed. Just think about it. 2 pairs of grandparents, that's 4 adults, add only 1 parent each, i.e. 2 adults, to their second generation. And these 2 parents add only 1 adult to their third generation. This creates the dreadful inverted pyramid where 6 grandparents and parents give way to only 1 grandchild by the third generation. Since every successive generation is now beginning to live longer, not only does the population shrink dramatically under a one-child dispensation, it also becomes much older, forcing an enormous burden on the single grandchild who has to look after 6 dependents in addition to his or her own spouse and child. That is 8 dependents living off 1 productive adult. Today, China is suffering the simple but devastating demographic consequences of the one-child policy as its labor force shrinks, creating a severe drag on economic growth. China, of course, has now abolished its one-child law, and it's now aggressively trying to convince married couples to have more children. But people are reluctant. They've gotten used to living in one-child families. Ironically, India too flirted with authoritarianism and population control together during its painful tryst with the emergency in 1975. Then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, goaded by her favorite son Sanjay, launched a merciless campaign to sterilize adult men. It was an unusually coercive program, with state officials employing violent tactics to meet their sterilization targets. Mercifully, the emergency was lifted after only 21 months. Mrs. Gandhi lost the elections as a terrified electorate rejected mass sterilization. Subsequent governments were just too chastened to ever deploy vindictive population control methods. India pivoted to education and persuasive social campaigns to achieve its demographic objectives. Those have been slow to work, but the bulk of the country is currently at or under the replacement rate of 2.1 children per mother, except for Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, which are still growing in numbers. But in these states too, the growth rate is descending towards the replacement rate, and it's a matter of time before India's population stabilizes, perhaps around the 1.5 to 1.6 billion mark. With the inglorious heritage of mass sterilization during the emergency, it's surprising that BJP governments in Uttar Pradesh and Assam are resurrecting coercive population control policies. However, if you parse the language, perhaps the real objective is demographic polarization, not control. Chief Minister Adityanath is openly canvassing for a population balance among various communities, making an invisible yet overt reference to Muslims who are mistakenly accused of being far more fecund than Hindus. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma of Assam is a trifle more candid. He says he's aiming his message at migrant Muslim community. Both are bringing tough laws with strong penal consequences for families which have more than 2 children. Anybody who dares to violate this law will be barred from contesting local body elections or getting government jobs or promotions or subsidies. Will the new population control laws of Uttar Pradesh and Assam deliver their demographic objectives? It's a highly questionable outcome, since punishment has seldom worked. However, education, economic upliftment, and empowerment of women have always worked. That's the only foolproof method of rationalizing a country's population. On the other hand, will these laws deliver their allegedly covert objective of communal polarization? The jury is out, and one can only hope that communities do not fall prey to divisive propaganda here. But unfortunately, going by the ugly track record of hate-generating WhatsApp universities, one should be prepared for the worst. Is this just one more instance of China progressing after learning the lessons of history, but India regressing after unlearning the same lessons?